Hi, and welcome to BremSter Puzzles, a channel where I try and showcase the fun that can be had in the world of variant Sudoku. And today I am tackling a puzzle with some trepidation, even though I've solved this puzzle before. This is Top Right Boy by SamuPiano. And SamuPiano sent this one to me saying, oh, you've been solving some of the Top Right Boy puzzles. This one should interest you. And it came in without any hints or anything, which was an interesting one, and most of my testers are on break at the moment, so I ended up saying, okay, I'm going to try and solve this one myself to get an understanding of how the puzzle works. So I basically became my own tester, because I looked at this puzzle for a few minutes and was just like, I have no idea how to start this puzzle, and I didn't have an opportunity in order to sit down and find a long time to record. And I was curious and I wanted to see whether it was a fit for the channel and everything. And even then, when I did start seeing things, I thought I couldn't actually unlock, and the stuff that I was seeing, I couldn't figure out how to explain or how I would approach it as part of a video. So what I wanted to do is I ended up doing an end-to-end solve of the puzzle. It took me probably about 7 or 8 hours, but it was over a couple of days, with me playing around with different ideas and lots of interruptions. I did it during breaks at work and all sorts of stuff, going away and coming back and like readdressing situations. And of course, now the heat kicks in and I need to turn my air conditioner on. And I just wanted to be able to present this well, and I'm still not going to do that, I expect, because there are concepts in this puzzle I really don't know how I'm going to explain. So this is going to be me trying to do something way outside my comfort zone, both in difficulty of puzzle, though it's really only rated 3 stars on Logic Masters Germany, but explaining concepts in that I haven't really wrapped my head around. If you've solved a lot of tricky puzzles, you may get to you may understand the concept of, oh, I see this and it must be this. But if you've then got to go back and explain it to people, that might be a little bit more tricky for you. And that's what I need to try and do here. I need to explain the concepts as well as try and not make any mistakes. I think this is an amazing puzzle, and now I've got to try and do it justice. There'll be a link below to where you can try this puzzle for yourself, as well as to its Logic Masters Germany page, where some people said that they thought it was harder than it was rated, as it's 3 stars. But I'm really interested to see what other people think of this puzzle as well. Do you think this is a 3-star, as in mid-range difficulty puzzle? We'll see how we go. I'm going to try. I'm really nervous about starting. You might be able to tell. So what do we have? We have normal Sudoku rules apply. So in every box, in every row, and in every column, the digits 1 to 9 must be placed without repetition. We have Top Right Boy. This is another Top Right Boy puzzle. 1 cell in each row, in each column, and in each box takes the value of the top right cell in its box. Digits in these cells form a complete set of the digits from 1 to 9. So for example, if this cell was the one that took the value of this cell. So if this was one of the cells, if this was a Top Right Boy cell, it would take the value of that cell. If it was this cell that took the value, and I'm using red because I know I'm going to use red. If it's this cell that takes its value, then that will take the value of that cell. So if this was a 5 and this was a 6, this would this would have a value of 5, not a value of 6. Then we've got values in a cage must sum to the total in the top left corner of that cage. So what that means is these digits will sum to, the values of the digits in this will sum to 7. But if this was the digit that was picking up this could be as high as a 9, because this could pick up this digit as a 3, and then those digits would only have to sum to 4, which is broken. But you know, if we could do that with say 1 and 3 again, which we can't, but that would be like possible mathematically, and it's a little bit broken as to how this all works, but that's how it does work. It's the values that have to sum to the cages, not the digits in the cage. You'll notice there's nothing about digits not being able to repeat in cages, or even values not being able to repeat in cages, because we've got this huge cage here. This is a huge cage that has to sum to 249. And I'm just trying to highlight it all so that you're aware of just how insane that thing is. That's one cage. So we can absolutely repeat both digits and values in cages. They're the rules of the puzzle. I'm going to restart the puzzle to restart my timer. Let's give this a shot. Now, I'm going to try and go through the concepts as I explored them last time. So the digits are actually going to pick up these cells. So what I ended up doing is I started by highlighting those and thinking about it. Now, one of the things that was very, very clear to me at the beginning, and I want to bring up, I absolutely solved this with a spreadsheet. So one of the things I did here was I grabbed all of these cages and I put them in so I had a sum of what all of these cages was. And if I put in 249, 19, 20, 5, 9, 19, 16, 16, 11, and 7, if I add all of those together, I end up at 378. So all of the cages sum to 378. Okay, no problem. But we know that we have to put the digits 1 through 9 in each row, column, and box. So we've got 9 rows that are each going to contain, or I'm actually going to say boxes. And the reason I'm going to say boxes is because I'm going to be talking about boxes a lot. And the way I think about this in my head is boxes. Each box has to contain the digits 1 through 9. So the overall cage total for the grid is 378. But what's the box total for the grid? Well, the box total is 1 through 9 times 9. Well, 1 through 9, if we add all the digits 1 through 9, it's 45. And if we multiply 45 by 9, we get 405. And the easy way to think about that is 45 times 10 is 450, and then you subtract 45. So you're at 405. So the box total for the grid, which is the sum of all the 1s and 9s in the grid, is 405. And the reason I don't know why in my head I was thinking about it as box total. You could think about it as grid total or anything, but I was thinking about it as box total. I don't know why. But the grid total is 405. But the cage total is 378. If you subtract 378 from 405, you end up at 27. So I'm just going to make a note here of 27. So what we're looking at is we're looking at having a total in the cages that is 27 less than the digits in the grid. Okay, so how do we do that? Now, the first thing I was thinking of is, well, and I'm going to point out my incorrect reasoning that I came up the first time. It's like, well, surely that means these need to be really large, because if these were really large, let's make them 7, 8, 9, then that's going to cause there to be a difference between the digits in the cage and the boxes. It's going to push the cage values up. But when I explored that and thought about it, it's actually the reverse, because if I make this a 1, and have this being the cell that's pointing to this, what I've done here is I've said the cage, the box total, let's say this is a 9. If this is a 1 and this is a 9, what we end up with is the box total hasn't changed. The box total is still going to be 45. So the amount that we're contributing to this box, or the amount we're contributing to the grid, is only 10. But the amount we're contributing to the cages is 18. We're actually contributing more to the cages this way, but we need to contribute less to the cages. Okay, so because the cages are actually 27 lower. And I said, okay, so that's a weird one. So we need to think about is how do we get a lower amount of values into those cages? And then I turned around and said, okay, well, the we know that all of the digits that are going to go into those top right boy cells, the ones that refer to the top right boy, not these ones, but the ones that become the top right boy cells. So the ones that are one each in one each row, column, and box, they're a complete set of the digits 1 to 9. That's part of the rules. So those are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, a 9 could be lowered by 8. So then if I'm going to use these rows as just a quick scratch pad, and this is exactly what I did when I solved it the first time. A 9 could be lowered by 8. An 8 could be lowered by 7. So it could lower the cage total by 7. A 7 could lower the cage total by 6. A 6 could lower the cage total by 5. And you can probably already see the mistake I was making here. A 5 could lower by 4. A 4 could lower by 3, a 3 could lower by 2, and a 2 could lower by 1. A 1 couldn't lower by anything because a 1 pointing at itself, for example, if this was a 1 and it's pointing at itself, then it would be lowering by 0. So the maximum number we could lower by, it'd be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, which is, if you add 1 through 8, you get 36. But 36 and 27 are a long way from each other. So it was like, that's not really helping me. But then I realized this is assuming that all of these digits are pointing to a 1 in the corner, because a 9 pointing to a 1 would provide 8. An 8 pointing to a 1 would provide 7. A 7 pointing to a 1 would provide 6. But I can't do that because the absolute minimum, if I select all the yellow cells and put, I don't want to do that. I want to keep them yellow, go back here and put 1, 2, 3 in them, including here, make this a 1, 2, 3. The absolute minimum I can put into those cells is 1, 2, 3. I can't repeat in the rows, digits in the rows. So that is going to restrict it. And I started thinking about, well, hang on, a 9 minus 1 and an 8 minus 2 and everything. I said, I don't need to do that. What I can do is I absolutely know that the digits that are going to point into the corners are 1 through 9, and those sum to 45. But these digits here, which are the ones being pointed to, sum to 18, because 1, 2, 3 is 6, and I've got 3 times 6. If I add 3 1s, 3 2s, and 3 3s together, I get 18. So these sum to 18, and the difference between 45 and 18 is 27, and that's the 27 I need. So that told me that those digits are forced to be 1, 2, 3. If I increase any of these digits by 1, even 1, then this would become a 19 total, and the maximum difference I would have would be 45 minus 19, which is 26, and I could only lower the cage totals by 26, but I need to lower the cage total by 27 in order for the fact that the cages total 378, but the entire grid is 405 to work. And that was the first thing that probably took me about 20 minutes to realize that. And I'm hoping that was a clear explanation of both how do you find that these are 1, 2, 3, and then how I went through my original discovery process, because I am trying to go through how does this all work. Does that make sense to you? I'm hoping so. Okay, so I was able to prove to myself that these are all 1, 2, 3. And my Discord is going, oh, my mother is traveling at the moment and she's just messaged me. I need to pause. I'm really sorry. Okay, I'm really sorry about that, but that was a message I absolutely had to take. Hopefully there won't be another one of those. So where I got to is, yeah, these have to be 1, 2, 3, so that the 45 minus 18 give me the 27 difference. And because of that difference, I realized that the rest of the math on the differences between the cages and everything probably doesn't matter. Now, I thought I might have to revisit it later to get some specifics, but I'm at this point, I really don't remember if I used it or not, but because I used so many different tricks at different parts of the puzzles, I don't remember which ones worked and which ones didn't. But this gave me the situation that the 1 through 9 are going to point at these. So the next thing was, what is actually going to get used and how am I going to use it? And then I realized these cages were actually quite interesting, because how is, for example, this 20 cage is a very, very strange one, because, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I did last time, and I'm going to change all of these not to being marked. I'm not very precise with my mouse, to being marked this way. So I've got the ability to then uncolor those, so I can turn around and say, those are the top right boy cells that are going to be pointed to. I need to figure out which cells are going to be the ones that are doing the pointing. But how is this going to work? How is this cage going to work? Because neither of these cells can point to that cell. Because if this was a non-natural cell, then this would be pointing here and it would contribute at most 3. So even if I made this a 9 and made it one of those cells that's pointing, and it inherited this, then this would have a maximum of 3. These would have a maximum of 6, and this would need to be a 14. It doesn't work. So these can't be a pointing cell. And the same is true here, because maximum 6. So neither of those could be a pointing cell. Because if one of those two was a pointing cell, then the maximum would be 6 and the other one would need to be a 13. And the same is true here. So I knew that none of those were pointing cells. And then I thought about, hang on a minute, if this was a pointing cell, then it would be pointing to itself and contributing its own value. And if it's not a pointing cell, it's contributing its own value. There's no way of increasing the value in one of these corner cells. It can only ever contribute its own number. Because if it's pointing, it's just pointing to itself. So even if this was a 1 and it's pointing to itself, then it's a 1. And if it's a 1 and it's not pointing to itself, it's a 1. So whatever that value is in a corner, and I don't know what it is, but whichever value it is, it's only contributing its own value. And the same is true for all of these top right corners. So because of that, how do I make this work? Well, I need to get to 20 with that being a maximum of 3. So these have to sum to at least 17. But the most they can be is 8, 9, making them 17. So this has to contribute its full total. I don't know whether it's pointing to itself or not, but it must contribute its full total, which takes 3 out of all of those. And then these 19s start causing a problem, because this is still only able to contribute its own value, whether it's pointing to itself or not. So these two cells have to contribute at least 19 minus 2. So they have to contribute at least 17, which is the maximum they can provide. So those have to be 8, 9. But the same is true here, and this has to be a 2 in order for this to work. But the same is true here. If this was a 1, these would have to contribute 18, and they can't. The maximum they can do is 17. So we get this. These both become 1. There's no 2 in any of those. There's no 1 here. This is a 3. This is a 1. This is a 3. This is a 2. And we get those breakdowns of the digits that are going to be pointed to right at the start of how this works, because of the beautiful placement of these cages. This one, however, is a bit weird, and I don't know how that's going to work yet. Okay, so it's like, where can I go from here? Well, then I looked at the 7 cage. Now, there's other places you can go and there's other directions you can go, but there must be a pointing cell in this 7 cage, because if these were all natural, how was the 7 cage made? Well, the minimum digits I could put in it without a 1, well, in fact, because of all of this, the minimum these could be would be 4 and 5, which would mean that they are already 9, which is a problem. But the only way of making a 7 cage just out of natural digits is 1, 2, and 4. There's no other way of doing it. The minimum digits are 1, 2, 3. I have to increase one of those digits in order to get from 6 to 7. The only digit I can increase without causing duplication, and the only reason I can't duplicate is because they're all within the same box. So 1, 2, 4 is the only way of making a 7 cage all within the same box in this puzzle, and both of these are. So I need a 1 in this cage. There absolutely needs to be a 1 in this cage. So there must be a pointing cell in here, because if there's not, if this was natural, I can't keep it down. So there must be a pointing cell. So I know all of these are natural. The same is true up here. All of these must be natural. And one of these is pointing to the 1. Okay, so which one of these is pointing to the 1? I don't know, but whichever one it's pointing to is pointing to the 1. Now, how do I make, and the other 2 digits must be natural. So how do I make 7 with 2 natural digits and something pointing to a 1? Well, I can't do duplication because I can't do another 1 in here to point to another 1. So, and I don't have a 1 in the cage to cause a duplicate 1. If this 1 was in the cage, I could potentially go 1, 1, 5, but I can't do that here because if the 1 was in the cage, I could point to the 1 from inside the cage and then have 1 plus 1, and then the other digit could be 5. But I can't do that here because the 1 is outside the cage. So whichever digit is pointing to the 1 becomes a 1, and the other 2 digits have to sum to 6. And the only way I could sum to 6, because I don't have 1, 5 available, is 2, 4. So this is something 2 and 4, and I don't know what that is. But the 2 can't go here. So this is the 2, and this is something 4. Now the 2 we know is natural, and there must be a pointing cell in one of those 2. So none of those are pointing cells. This 7 is similar. We must have a pointing cell and then 2, 4. It's exactly the same logic. The 2 is here, which means that's natural. There's a pointing in here, and all of those are natural because we've only got 1 natural in each row, column, and box. Now, 2 isn't in any of those because of that 2, any of those because of that 2. That becomes a 2. Okay. I am now running out of things that I remember. Because it could be any digit with the 4 that's pointing. It could be any digit. Ah, no, here we go. 8, 9, 8, 9. I can't put 8 or 9 in any of those. So where's the 8, 9 in this column? This is an 8, 9 pair, making that the 4, and this isn't the 4. We know the 4 is natural, and now this is the pointing digit, which means all of those are natural. And the same true here, 8, 9, 8, 9. I can't put 8 or 9 in any of those. This is an 8, 9 pair. We know the 8, 9 can't go in a 7 cage, so that is the pointing digit, and this is natural, which is the 4. And none of these can be pointing digits because there's only 1 per row or column. And those must be different because there's only 1 of each digit. So if this is an 8, this is a 9. If this is a 9, this is an 8. So no 8 or 9 could ever point in this puzzle. So 3 is in one of those 2. 3 is in one of those 2. Okay. What comes next? Was it the 9 cage? Well, I think it may be, actually. Because the minimum this could be, because of the 1, 2, 3, is a 4. And the minimum this could be is a 4. But they can't both be 4s. Because I can't... there must be a pointer in here. There must be a pointer in this cage. Because if there's no pointer in this cage, if this was all natural, how would this cage work? The minimum here would be 4, so the minimum here would be 5, or the other way around, and this would be a 10 cage. So there must be a pointer in the cage. I don't know where it is. Now, it can't be here, I don't think. Well, we know there's one in the cage. If it was here, it'd be a 1 pointing to itself, and those digits would need to sum to 8. But the minimum would be 4 and 5, which doesn't work. So this isn't the pointer. One of those two is the pointer. But the digit that's pointing to this is going to be a 1. I assume I found this last time. I don't remember it. At least I don't remember finding it this way. The digit that's pointing to this is going to be pointing to a 1. It's possible I'm finding a cleaner path through this time. I hope that's the case. So if this is the pointer, this will be 1 plus 1, because it doesn't matter what digit goes in, it's going to be 1 plus 1. And if this is the pointer, it's going to be 1 plus 1. So either way, we've already only got 2, and one of these digits, which is natural, must be a 7. Does that help me? I can see 2 is down here. I can see 2 is in here. Is it this 5 cage? It could be, you know. I don't remember. This is one of the things I would have done in between work meetings at work. There's no 2 here and there's no 2 here. So 2 is in one of those 2 and one of those 2. Where's 2 in? 2 is in one of those. That's not a huge thing. Okay, so if 2 is here, this would be 8 or 9, because if 2 is here, if it's natural, if 2 is here, if it's natural, if both of these are natural, we're broken, because, oh no, a natural 2 with a natural 9 could work. An indexing 2, so a pointing 2 with a natural 8 could work, but I couldn't go 2 and then a pointer here, because then this would sum to 5. So if this is a 2, this is either 8 or 9. If this is a 2, I think I've got lots of options here. I couldn't use... Oh, actually, I'd have 3, 8 in lots of different ways. Like I could put an 8 in here with a 3. I could use 7, 4. I could use 5. No, that's not it. So where am I looking? Is it down here? Can I figure out something about the sum of those? Because these... Those, 16 plus 16 is 32. Looking at the box without thinking about the pointers, that would mean that these would need to sum to 13, because 32 minus 45 is 13. I do remember looking at this, and I don't remember if it led to anything. But and they could sum to 13, with these being 5, 6. Because the minimum here is 5, the minimum here is 5. So these are all 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1 is in here. Hang on. If I put a 9 in here, these are all natural. So what can I lower this by in order to make that natural work? Because this math has to work. So let's say I put a 9 in here. It doesn't matter which 4 cells I'm talking about. If I put a 9 in here and had this point to a 2, then the box total here, the cage total. So the total in the cages from a box perspective, not worrying about the 16, 16, because this would be a 2. So we'd have 14, 39, and these would have to sum to 6, which they can't. So I can't put a 9 in here because that means that these cages from a box perspective would be summing to 39 because this is only a 2. 2 plus 14, 9 plus 14, because this only counts as 2, 9 plus 14, or 14 plus 16 is 30, plus 9 is 39. Those would need to sum to 6, and I can't do that. So this can't be a 9. I need to drop it way more than that, because the minimum there is 13. Let's go to, I think even a 4 is a problem. If this was a 4 and pointing, and it doesn't, it doesn't matter where I put it. I could even, I could put it here. If this is a 4 and pointing, then this is going to be a 2 for the cage. That will be 14 still. 14 plus 4 is 18, 28, 34. 34, 45 minus 34, because the box, we're talking about box logic here. 35 is 11, but I can't keep those cells down to 11. So hang on, does even a 3 work? No, I don't think it does, because if I put a 3 in, then this would still drop this by only 1. So this would become a 2. These would be 13. This would become, 13 plus 3. No, this would be 14. So this would be a 17 cage plus a 16 cage, which is 33. And those would need to sum to 12. And I can't make those sum to 12 because the minimum is 5, 6, and 2. Because of the 1, 2, 3, 4 and the 1, 2, 3, 4. So that doesn't work. The 1 in this box must be pointing at a 2. So the 1 is pointing to the 2. So I don't know which cell it is, but the 1 in this box is pointing at a 2. So with the 1, 3 stars on Logic Masters Germany. With the 1 pointing at a 2, we know the total of these boxes is going to be better off because we get 2 plus 14. So one of them is 15, the other is 16, which is 31, and these 3 cells need to sum to 14. So those cells here, 14, these cells need to sum to 13. No, 12. They need to sum to 12 because these sum to 4. Let me do that again. We've got 15 in one cage because it's 14 because this counts as 2. 14 plus 1, 15. 31. These need to sum to 14. 14 minus 2 is 12. These need to sum to 12. I can't do 9, 3. I can't do 8, 4. I can't do 7. I can do 7, 5 and 6, 6 doesn't work. These are 7, 5. Right. Now, how does this now break down? These are 5 and 7. So how do I break those 16 cages down? Wherever the 1 is goes with a 2. Well, hang on, I need to put a 9 into one of them. And the 9 needs to go with 2 digits that sums The 9 needs to go with 2 digits that sum to 7. The 1 isn't available because the 1 becomes a 2. I could do 2, 5. I can't do 2, 5, so it's 9, 3, 6. So one of them is 3, 6, 9. Sorry, no, wait, what have I done? They have to sum to 7. So it's 9. It's 9 with 2 digits that sum to 7. I can't use 1, 6 because the 1 becomes to 2. I can't use 2, 5 because the 5's not available. I could use 3, 4. So 3, 4, 9 is one of them. So the other digit is a 1, which becomes a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 6, 8. 1, 6, 8 is 2, 6, 8, which is 16. So one of them is 1, 6, 8 and one of them is 3, 4, 9. Which is which? Can I tell that? Yes. If this was the 3, 4, 9, the 3, 4 couldn't go here or here, and this would have to be both the 3, 4. This is the 3, 4, 9, and this is the 1, 6, 8, and 1 can't go in either of those. In either of those, this is the 1, which we know is the pointing cell, and this is the 6, 8, and all of those are natural. None of these can be pointing cells. And that's how you solve box 7. Now, I did remember I investigated this one for about 40 minutes with breaks in the middle for meetings and stuff, but that was insane. Sip of coffee. So, what comes next? Okay. I do remember this next thing I found, which is, where are the 3s now? 3 and 3 means 3 is down here, but it can't be here. So 3 is in one of those two. 3 is here. 3 can't go in any of these. So 3 is in here. 3 in this box. 3 can't be here, and the pointing up 3s means not here, and the 3 can't be here, so 3 is in one of those two. So the question now was, where is the 3 that must be the pointing digit? It can't be in box 1, it can't be in box 2. It can be in box 3, can't be in box 4, can't be in box 5 because those two cells both C3s, can't be in box 6, can't be in box 7, can't be in box 8, and it can't be in box 9. That is the pointing 3. Took me a while to find that. So those and those are not pointing. Now, what came next? I don't remember if it was looking at 2s again, or if it was looking at like trying to color the 8s and 9s. Because if this is an 8, this is an 8, this is an 8, and 8 is in here. If this is an 8, this is an 8, this is an 8, and 8 is in here. So we know 8 is in one of those. And I can't remember if that was it. But I'm trying to discover again. The other thing I remember looking at is 4s, because 4s in these columns have to go in those green cells, and I can't put them in both of those. So one of these, or potentially both, have to be 4s. And if they're both 4s, then that's a 4. So 4 is either in, that position, and that position. Or if there's a 4 here, there's a 4 here. If there's a 4 here, there's a 4 here. And I spent a bit of time looking around at that and couldn't figure out anything about it. It's possible there's something with that, but I couldn't quite figure it. I'm not sure if it was this. If this is a 2, it may have been indexing here, actually. Like, if this is an indexer, yeah, this can't be an indexer. I remember finding this. If this was an indexer, this would be a 3, but this would be natural. And it doesn't matter what digit this is, this would have to be a 2, and it can't be. So this can't be an indexer, because this would need to be a 2. So this digit here is not, not that one. This digit here is not indexing. But a 2 here could make that an indexer pointing at a 3, or if this is an indexer pointing at a 3, these could be 1, 4, which would make that a 2. And I can't see why I can't make this 1 and 4. One is in one of those three. One is in one of those three. If this is a 1, that's a 4, and that's an indexer, which would be a 2. If this is a 1, that's a 4, and that's an indexer. If this is a 1, that's a 2, and that's an indexer pointing at a 3. Hang on, but the indexer, if this is a 1, this is a 2 and this is an indexer. If this is a 1, this is a 4, and that's a 2 and an indexer. Because 1 can never be an indexer. Which means because of these ones, 1 is down here, and I can't put 1 in an 11 cage. Because 1 would need a 10. If 1 was an index, 1 can't be an indexer. If 1 is natural, it needs a 10 next to it, and I can't get a 10 either by indexing or naturally. This is the 1, which is natural. And now there is an indexer in this cage, which is a 2. There is a 2 indexer in this cage. Oh, no. Well, hang on. Wait a minute. Wait. There is a 2 in that cage. Hang on, the 2 has to be the indexer, because if the 2 isn't the indexer, whatever the other digit is pointing to a 3, and this is a 5 cage. So the 2 is the indexer, which means this is a 3-8 cage. This is 2-8, which makes it a 3-8 cage, and the 2 is the indexer, because the 2 becomes the 3, and the 8 is natural, because 3 and 8 sum to 11, which means this is the 9, this is the 8. The 9 looks across saying no 9 there, this is the 9. The 8 means this is the 9, this is the 8. The 8 looks across making that the 6 and that the 8. Two is now an indexer. So if this is a 2, the only way to do this would be if this is a 2, the only way to do this would be 1, 4. And neither of those could be an indexer. And that would have to be as a 2. That can't be a 2. Because if this is a 2, how do I make this 5 cage work? I can't do indexer and 3, because an indexer and then complete it, because the indexer would need a 2, but I put the 2 outside the cage. And if it's a 1, 4, then this can't be an indexer because the indexer is the 2 down here, and the 1, 4 can't index because 1 plus 3 is 4 and 4 plus 3 is 7. This can't be the 2. This is the 2. And this must be the indexer now, because 2 plus 3 is 5. That's the indexer, which means it's not the 1. This is the 1, which is natural. That means this isn't the indexer. This is the indexer or pointer or whatever you call it, which means that's the 7. This is not the 7 because this is 1 plus 1 plus 7. That means this isn't. This is. Sorry, more Discord messages coming in. I'm okay. Which means this isn't. This is. Which means this isn't. This is. Those are all the pointing cells, and I can get rid of my blue. The 8 means this is the 2, this is the 8. I had that. This had to be the 2. So 3 plus 8 is 11. Where do we go from here? I remember getting very stuck at this point. The 3, 4 is looking across saying that's not the 3, that's the 3. These are a triple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 6 must be in one of those two for that triple, so the 6 is here and not here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a 9 in one of those two. These are 5, 7, and 9. There's no 7 there. The 8 is looking up, making that the 9, that the 8, which makes that the 9, that the 8, which makes that the 9, and that the 8. Maybe it's these. Because I've got indexes of 1 and 2 and 3, so 4, 5, 6, and 7 go in. There's no 4 here. There's no 7 here. There's no 4 here. There's no 7 here. So 7 is in one of those two. So that's not telling me anything. Okay. Getting to this point of the puzzle took me a very long time. It's very clever, and I hope I've explained this well enough that people are getting it. I hope I'm explaining it well enough that I'm getting it. Can I do more Sudoku? 3 is in one of those. 1, 1, 1. 1 is in one of those. It's in one of those. It's in one of those. No, it's in one of those two. One of those 3 and one of those 2. 9 in this row is in one of those 2. Eight is in one of those 2 because we've got 4 8s looking into the box, 3 8s looking into the box. So 8 over here is in one of those 2. Was it the trick on 4s in row 1 and column 9? I don't remember how I got unstuck at this point. I'm trying to rediscover it on camera while looking like a complete knob. What am I missing in this column? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are also 5, 6, 7, but must contain a 6. So there's no 6 here. This is only a 4 or a 5. So the 6 in this column must be up here. So what's this digit? It can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't be 6. This is only 5 or 7. This box? No, 1 is placed. 1, oh no, I've got the 1. What am I talking about? It's 1 up here that's not placed. That's not... 2 in box 5. 2, 2, 2, and 2. That's a 2, making that an 8, meaning that's not the 8, that's the 8. What's that doing? There's a 9. Where's 9 in this box? 9 can't be in those or there or there. That's the 9, which puts 9 right there, which makes this the 5, which makes this the 7, this the 9. The 7 makes this the 5, taking 5 out of those, making that the 5. This is a 6, 7. More Discord messages, but not from Maggie, so I don't care. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7 go into those to complete either the box or the row. The 7 is looking down saying not there. So this column is 3, this is 4, 5, or 7, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4, 5, or 7. Four in this column is in one of those two. Even this doesn't feel like a 3-star puzzle, does it? I mean, not to me. I mean, one of those two has to be a 4. One of those two has to be a 7. There's a... where's 3 in here? Note there, not there. This is a 3 in the middle. These are 4, 5, 6. So this is 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. That one could be a 7. But I'm wondering whether I can do something with 4, 5s, and 6s. This 5 is looking up, saying there's no 5 in those. So this is a 6, 7 pair. So there's no 7 here. This is a 4, 5 pair. That digit is that digit. Because this digit has to go in this box somewhere. It can't be here because it's none of those. It can't be there because it's the same row, and it can't be there because I can't put 2 of the same digit in pointing. So this isn't a 6. So those are the same digit and must go in here. Right, so those 2 digits are the same. Because that digit can't be here, so it's here. And those digits must be over here. Because this digit must be one of those 3 digits. Well, it's not a 9, so it must be one of those 2 digits. But I've already got a 1 in one of those 2 digits. So this is now 1, 4, 5, and that is not a 3. That's a 3. And that is a 1, 4, 5 triple. So this is a 6, which takes 6 out of both of those. And that's a 5, 7 pair, which means these are 4. Because I can't repeat digits. Awesome. Which means this is a 5, looking up, making that the 7, that the 5. And I've done all the pointing digits. There's no 5 in any of those. The 1, 4 makes this the 6. The 1, 4 looks across, making this the 5. The 6 looks across, making that the 7 and that the 6. The 5 looks up, making that the 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 3 or 4, and the 4 means this is the 3, this is the 4, this is the 3. There's no 3 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 5 and 6. The 7 comes out of there because of that 7. So this becomes a 7. This column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 5. 5 isn't in any of those, so 5 is in one of those two. Three is looking up, saying that's not the 3, that's the 3. So this column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I wanted to confirm because it's the sort of mistake I make all the time. So these are 1, 4, and 6. There's no 4 there. So this is 1, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. This is 1, 5, 6, and it can't be a 6. This is only 1 or 5 because it can't be a 6 because of that. This is known. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 7. Looking down, making this the 6, this the 7. This column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 4. Looking across, saying that's not a 4. That's a 1, 6 pair, making that the 4. Looking down, making that the 6 and that the 4. So this is 5 or 6 for the row, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 5 or 6 for the row, but the 6 is looking up, making that the 5, which makes that the 1. The 5 looks across, making that the 6 and that the 5. The 1 looks across, making this the 6 and this the 1. There's no 1 in here. The 1 is looking down, making this the 4, this the 1. And these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The 6 makes this the 7, and this will be the 6, which is the correct solution. Now, this has only had 51 solves in, I don't know how old this puzzle is, I forgot to check, but that is how you solve this puzzle. Now, the other thing we can do here is we could potentially check the cage totals, but what we could do is we could look at the differences. The difference here is we gain 8. Remember, we're looking for 27. We gain 8. We gain another 5, so that's 13. We lose... Oh no, 0. So hang on, 8 plus 5. I'm going to make a note of these. 8, 5. We then gain 0 because this is pointing to itself. This one, it's pointing to a lower digit, so we gain 1. This one is pointing to a lower digit, so we gain 5. This one we gain 3. This one is pointing to a higher digit, so we lose 1, minus 1. This one is pointing to a higher digit, so we lose another 1, minus 1. And this one is pointing to a lower digit, so we gain 7. And if we add all of those differences together, we get 27. So 8, 5, 1, 5, 3, minus 1, and 7 is 27. And that's got the differences we needed to get between the 378 in the cages and the 405 in the grid. What an insane puzzle that is. As I said, this took me a lot less time than I thought it would, considering I did have some ideas. Like, I did know to look here because it took me probably half an hour to find this the first time I did it. And after that, it kind of fell into place. And finding the break-in, I actually found the 1, 2, 3s pretty quickly. I think it took me only like, I don't remember, 15, 20 minutes. I probably said earlier when I was clearer of my head, this is tiring. Yeah, doing this explaining, I actually find, like, I enjoy doing it. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have done 2,500 videos if I didn't enjoy it. But it is really, really tiring when I'm trying to come up with ways of explaining concepts, particularly ones that I think are this tricky. But I've really enjoyed this one. Man, I hope my recording has worked. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you, SamuPiano, for the puzzle. And I don't want to make puzzles this tricky the standard fare on the channel, but I do enjoy doing them. Now, SamuPiano did not provide any hints or guide on this one, which is why I literally did a pre-solve. If SamuPiano had provided even just some hints about, by the way, the break-in works this way and blah, 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 on a puzzle this tricky, I probably would have got put some time aside, found some time aside, and gone straight in blind, because I knew if I got stuck in the recording, I had a way out. But not knowing that I'd have a way out if I got stuck, I needed a test solve, and the only tester I really had available was myself. So if you're a creator, and you want to be sure that I'm going to try a blind solve on a harder puzzle, make sure you've given me that escape valve, because otherwise it may be days between, and I'm probably going to dump it. So yeah, I really need to be able to get unstuck while I'm in the middle of my session. That's the way it needs to work. That's why I ask for them, so I can present your puzzle well. That's it. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you found your way through this one, and if you didn't, I hope my explanation got you through it. Again, I made this video as short as I possibly could while covering it in enough detail that I think everyone should be able to understand it. I'm not hunting watch time here. I do hope you like it. I do hope you subscribe, but my entire goal here is to make sure that you understand what this puzzle had, because it is absolutely stunning. Thanks everyone for watching. And as always, good luck with your solving.